Hey sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. Despite the grand history of the brand, the humble beginnings of Topps came in 1951 with several smaller sets. Two of the more available options were issued as a card game, including 1951 Topps Bluebacks and the more common Redbacks. 1951 Topps Redbacks cards and the similar 1951 Topps Bluebacks are a hybrid collectible that combines baseball cards with a baseball-themed card game. Although the game never garnered much interest, the red and bluebacks remain relevant as one of the first baseball card sets produced by Topps. On the smaller side in comparison to the traditional card size, the 2 inches by 2 5/8 inches cards feature rounded corners and a very similar design to playing cards. Card fronts for the 1951 Topps red and blueback set are very colorful. Yellow, green, red, and blue are used to highlight a black and white photo that is centered in the middle of the cards with a diamond background. There are also additional elements in the corners, including a baseball drawing, red baseball graphic in play in 2 corners, and a brief player bio. The plays referenced, like double or strike, correspond to the card game. The 52-card 1951 Topps Redback set matches the Bluebacks in total number. Despite these similarities, the 2 sets are easily distinguished based on the color of the card backs. Also, the Redbacks are noted as A series on the card fronts. Another difference between the two 1951 Topps sets is the checklist. 1951 Topps Redbacks features 8 Hall of Fame inductees, including the rookie card for Monty Irvin. Other top options include Yogi Berra, Duke Snider, Phil Rizzuto, Bob Feller, and Warren Spahn. Despite boasting the better checklist, the 1951 Topps Redbacks values are lower than their blue equivalent. This is due to the relative scarcity of the bluebacks compared to the redbacks. Card creasing also makes it more difficult to locate high-grade examples. Additionally, 1951 Topps Redbacks cards are largely found in single card form, but there is a more limited panel version that includes 2 cards attached with perforation. While the panel cards do carry a premium, both versions display the perforation edges. Although rare, factory sets of panels were also issued and have surfaced at auction. In this video, I'm going to show the top 10 most valuable cards from the 1951 Topps Redbacks and Bluebacks set based on their PSA 5 values. I'll also give the values of those cards in higher grades, as well as the population count of those grades. Now, before I get to the top 10, here are the cards that just missed the top 10. At number 15, the Eddie Stanky Redback card. At number 14, the Duke Snider Redback card. At number 13, the Gil Hodges Redback card. At number 12, the Johnny Wyrostek Blueback card. And at number 11, the Bill Pierce Blueback card. So, which cards made the top 10 list? Let's go find out. Coming in at number 10, we have the Ralph Kiner Redback. In a PSA 5, there have been 75 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $92. There have been 72 graded at PSA 6. They sell for around $100. There have been 32 graded at PSA 7. They sell for around $162. There have been 97 graded at PSA 8. They sell for around $244. There have been 56 graded at PSA 9. The last PSA 9 sale took place in April of 2023 through REA and sold for $570. There has been 1 graded at PSA 10. The only PSA 10 sale in VCP's database took place in October of 2012 through eBay and sold for $2,500, placing the Ralph Kiner at the number 3 spot in terms of PSA 10 graded copies on this top 10 list. At number 9, we have the Bobby Doerr Blueback. In a PSA 5, there have been 38 graded copies with the current VCP average price of $92. There have only been 18 graded at PSA 6. They sell for around $149. Only 16 have been graded a PSA 7. They sell for around $225. There have actually been 58 graded a PSA 8. They sell for around $307. There have been 33 graded a PSA 9. The last PSA 9 sale was in May of 2022 through eBay and sold for $256. There have been 3 graded a PSA 10. The only PSA 10 sale in VCP's database was in November of 2015 through eBay and sold for $937, placing the Bobby Doerr at the number 5 spot in terms of PSA 10 graded copies on this list. At number 8, we have the Warren Spahn Redback. In a PSA 5, there have been 95 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $94. There have been 89 graded a PSA 6. They sell for around $123. There have been 53 graded a PSA 7. They sell for around $246. There have been 169 graded a PSA 8. They sell for around $294. There have been 85 graded a PSA 9. They sell for around $463. There have been 3 graded a PSA 10. The only PSA 10 sale in VCP's database was in July of 2015 through eBay and sold for $2,026, placing the Warren Spahn at the number 4 spot in terms of PSA 10 graded copies. Coming in at number 7, we have the ENA Slaughter Blueback card. In a PSA 5, there have been 38 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $102. There have been 32 graded a PSA 6. They sell for around $156. There have been 17 graded a PSA 7. They sell for around $220. There have been 53 graded a PSA 8. They sell for around $440. There have been 24 graded a PSA 9. The last PSA 9 sale was in August of 2023 through eBay and sold for $380. And there has not been a PSA 10 graded copy of the ENA Slaughter card. At number 6, we have the Johnny Mize Blueback card. In a PSA 5, there have been 37 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $106. There have been 26 copies graded a PSA 6. They sell for around $81. There have also been 26 graded a PSA 7. They sell for around $155. There have been 53 graded a PSA 8. They sell for around $255. There have been 34 graded a PSA 9. The last PSA 9 sale was in August of 2022 through eBay and sold for $681, placing the Johnny Mize card at the number 5 spot in terms of PSA 9 graded copies. There has been 1 PSA 10 graded copy. The only PSA 10 sale in VCP's database was in January of 2007 through eBay and sold for $2,627, placing the Johnny Mize at the number 2 spot in terms of PSA 10 graded copies on the list. At number 5, we have the Richie Ashburn Blueback card. In a PSA 5, there have been 58 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $128. There have been 25 graded at PSA 6. They sell for around $195. There have been 22 graded at PSA 7. They sell for around $270. There have been 67 graded at PSA 8. They sell for around $335. There have been 29 graded at PSA 9. They sell for around $1,375, placing the Richie Ashburn at the number 2 spot in terms of PSA 9 graded copies on this list, and there has not been a PSA 10 graded copy of the Richie Ashburn card. At number 4, we have the Monty Irvin Redback card. In a PSA 5, there have been 103 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $134. There have been 56 graded at PSA 6. They sell for around $250. There have been 58 graded a PSA 7. They sell for around $279. There have been 114 graded a PSA 8. They sell for around $398. There have been 50 graded a PSA 9. The last PSA 9 sale was in April of 2023 through REA and sold for $840, placing the Monty Irvin at the number 3 spot in terms of PSA 9 graded copies. Now, there has been one graded a PSA 10. The only PSA 10 sale was in May of 2014 through eBay and sold for $399. At number 3, we have the Rudo Redback card. In a PSA 5, there have been 108 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $134. There have been 64 graded a PSA 6. They sell for around $150. There have been 47 graded a PSA 7. They sell for around $185. There have been 114 graded a PSA 8. They sell for around $221. There have been 36 graded a PSA 9. The last PSA 9 sale was in February of 2024 through Memory Lane and sold for $522. And there has not been a PSA 10 graded copy of the Rudo card. Coming in at number 2, we have the Bob Feller Redback card. In a PSA 5, there have been 110 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $203. There have been 75 graded a PSA 6. They sell for around $173. There have been 30 graded a PSA 7. They sell for around $217. There have been 97 graded a PSA 8. They sell for around $335. There have been 45 graded a PSA 9. They sell for around $703, placing the Bob Feller at the number 4 spot in terms of PSA 9 graded copies. There have been 2 graded a PSA 10. The last PSA 10 sale was in March of 2021 through eBay and sold for $3,250, placing the Bob Feller at the number 1 spot in terms of PSA 10 graded copies on this list. And the number 1 most valuable card from the 1951 top set, the Yogi Berra Redback. In a PSA 5, there have been 129 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $329. There have been 92 graded a PSA 6. They sell for around $416. There have been 78 graded a PSA 7. They sell for around $538. There have been 131 graded a PSA 8. They sell for around $866. There have been 22 graded a PSA 9. The last PSA 9 sale was in November of 2023 through PWCC and sold for $2,520, placing the Yogi Berra also at the number 1 spot in terms of PSA 9 graded copies. And there has not been a PSA 10 graded copy of the Yogi Berra card. Well, there you go, the top 10 most valuable cards from the 1951 Topps Redbacks and Bluebacks set. As always, would love to know what you think about the set in general and the cards that made the top 10 list. And if you've missed any of the videos in this series, here are 2 that you can check out. With that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.